You close your eyes and allow yourself to sink inward, beyond the familiar contours of your body, past the gentle rise and fall of your chest, past the steady rhythm of your heartbeat, until you arrive at a place both intimate and vast. Here you are not merely yourself. You are a universe contained within a universe. You drift into the microscopic hush of your cells, a realm that hums softly with life. Each cell feels like a tiny chamber of thought, a quiet room where memories of survival, adaptation, and continuity reside, gently vibrating beneath your awareness. The world outside recedes, leaving you suspended in this delicate interior cosmos, where light is not necessary for life, and sound exists only as the subtle murmur of molecules in motion. You notice the threads of DNA stretching like delicate ribbons through the nucleus, coiled with both purpose and elegance. They wind and unwind in a rhythm that feels both ancient and immediate, looping endlessly in spirals that carry the knowledge of countless generations. You sense their silence as a song, a lullaby older than the stars themselves, sung not with sound but with the language of chemistry and structure. Each twist, each turn of the double helix is a note, a phrase, a verse, composing a melody that tells the story of who you are, who your ancestors were, and who you might yet become. Drifting closer, you feel the strands of DNA not as static structures, but as living, breathing entities, responsive to the tiny nudges and gentle tugs from the cell around them. You sense the quiet interactions of proteins reading and interpreting these sequences, scanning the loops with meticulous care. They do not rush. They do not interrupt. They pause, they examine, they guide. Each enzymatic motion feels like a soft brush against the canvas of your being, a touch so precise it seems almost reverent. You realize that this silent choreography has been ongoing for billions of years, a patient and continuous process that shapes the very essence of life itself. As you float among these molecular corridors, you begin to notice the rhythm beneath the rhythm. There is a pulse to the cell that is not the heartbeat, not the flow of blood, but a subtler cadence. It is the slow, deliberate cycling of division, repair, and communication. Signals travel between organelles, messenger RNA shuttles instructions from DNA to ribosomes. Ribosomes translate those instructions into proteins, the building blocks, the silent labors of existence. You sense their quiet diligence as a gentle hum that reverberates softly through the cytoplasm, a rhythm so delicate that it might easily be missed, yet it is profoundly essential. You pass through the smooth surface of the nuclear envelope and find yourself inside the nucleus, where DNA coils around histones like a string of softly glowing pearls. Each gene feels like a phrase in an infinite poem, some whispered more loudly, others barely audible. You notice the selective nature of expression, the way some sections awaken in response to subtle cues while others slumber in patient dormancy. The cell's choice is quiet but deliberate, like a library that chooses which volumes to open in response to the needs of its reader. You sense the intimacy of this decision-making, a quiet intelligence that operates without ego or haste. Floating further, you imagine the cell's membrane as a gentle boundary, a permeable wall that allows nourishment, signals, and whispers of connection to pass through. You sense the environment beyond the cell. Other cells, chemical gradients, tiny particles, all contributing to this subtle dialogue. It is as though each cell listens attentively to the conversation of life, responding not with words, but with movement, adjustment, and careful timing. There is a softness here, an unspoken generosity, a willingness to participate in the harmony of the organism. You feel yourself becoming attuned to the pulse of this microscopic society, a rhythm that mirrors the vastness of existence itself. You notice the mitochondria, the little engines scattered like lanterns through the cytoplasm. They glow faintly in your mind's eye, converting nourishment into energy, powering every subtle gesture of the cell. You sense their quiet diligence, the patient transformation of molecules into vitality. Each pulse of energy feels like a gentle heartbeat within a heartbeat, a small but essential rhythm in the larger orchestra of life. You imagine how the entire organism depends upon this silent activity, how each cell contributes its measured effort to the stability of the whole, and you sense a quiet gratitude for this microscopic collaboration. Even the ribosomes, these tiny factories, carry a meditative grace. They translate instructions from RNA into proteins, constructing molecules with precision and care. You watch their activity as if it were a delicate dance, each step measured and intentional. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is hurried. There is a reverence for process, a patience for each fold, each bond, each interaction. You feel a calming presence in this diligence, as if the very act of existence is performed with mindfulness, each molecular motion a meditation in itself. You allow yourself to drift closer still to the DNA, noticing the subtle repairs that occur whenever mistakes arise. You witness enzymes correcting errors, patching breaks, and restoring balance. There is no panic, no urgency, only attentive care. The cell does not judge. It only acts, quietly maintaining integrity. You sense a connection here between the microcosm of your cellular machinery and the macrocosm of life, a parallel to the slow, patient correction and adaptation that occurs on evolutionary timescales. There is a humility in this process, a quiet reassurance that life has its own ways of maintaining order and continuity. You begin to notice a strange resonance in the cell, a rhythm that is neither fully mechanical nor fully chemical. It is a whisper that seems to arise from the interactions themselves, the interplay between molecules, organelles, and strands of DNA. It is as if the cell listens to its own symphony, adjusting, pausing, and responding to its own music. You feel that this whisper is older than you, older than any individual organism, a hum of life that has persisted for billions of years, carrying memory, experience, and the quiet lessons of survival. Drifting among the chromosomes, you sense their intimate connection with one another, the way loops and coils bring distant genes into gentle proximity. Signals pass through these loops, conversations carried without sound, adjustments made without notice. There is an elegance here, a hidden choreography that balances flexibility with stability, potential with regulation. Energy carries a story, and that the next chapter of this quiet journey awaits in the patient diligence of life's caretakers. You feel the poetry in this architecture, the subtlety of design without designer, the quiet sophistication of evolution's patient hand. You allow your awareness to expand, to encompass not just a single cell, but the network of cells that compose your body. Each one carries its own whisper, its own pulse, yet together they form a symphony of harmonious interaction. Signals travel, feedback loops adjust, and balance is maintained without fanfare. You feel the profound intimacy of being a vessel for this ongoing dialogue, a participant in a conversation that began long before your existence and will continue long after. You notice how the cell anticipates, responds, and sometimes even adapts in ways that feel intentional. There is an elegance to this subtle intelligence, a patient wisdom that unfolds without thought or deliberation. You sense that life operates in cycles of listening and acting, receiving and responding, a continuous dialogue that sustains both individual cells and entire organisms. There is beauty in this quiet awareness, a comfort in the consistency and resilience of these microscopic processes. As you drift back toward consciousness, you carry the sense of the cell's whisper within you. You notice the rhythm beneath your own heartbeat, the pulse of breath, the subtle warmth of life flowing through your veins. You feel connected not only to your own cells but to the countless generations that have passed before, each one shaped by similar whispers, each one guided by similar rhythms. There is a deep serenity in knowing that the microscopic and the vast, the personal and the universal, are intertwined in quiet, sustaining harmony. And as you rest in this awareness, you sense a gentle invitation to observe more closely, to journey further into the guardians of the genome, to meet the tiny sentinels and molecular scribes who watch over these whispered codes. You realize that every strand of DNA, every enzymatic motion, every pulse of energy carries a story, and that the next chapter of this quiet journey awaits in the patient diligence of life's caretakers. You begin your journey by returning to the spiraling corridors of DNA, the delicate double helix stretching endlessly in miniature towers of light. Each coil seems to shimmer with a soft, inner glow, carrying a language older than any human story, older even than the mountains and oceans. You notice the fragility of this architecture, how easily a twist might break, a base might misalign, and yet, within this delicate system, there exists a quiet network of vigilance. You sense the presence of guardians, molecules moving with precise intention, their motion almost imperceptible, yet profoundly crucial. They patrol the strands with tireless diligence, as if their very being is devoted to the safety and continuity of life. These guardians are neither harsh nor violent. They are attentive and measured. You watch them scan the DNA with a patience that seems to stretch time itself. One protein pauses over a tiny error, tilts slightly, and corrects a misplaced base pair. Another drifts past, scanning the surrounding sequences, alert for damage that might disrupt the delicate balance. There is no haste, no alarm, only quiet observation and gentle correction. You feel a deep sense of reassurance in their presence, a calm understanding that life has long since learned to safeguard itself. Floating closer, you notice that these guardians move with purpose yet remain flexible, adapting to the conditions they encounter. Some glide along the DNA like lanterns moving through a shadowed hallway, illuminating the code as they pass. Others form temporary scaffolds, bringing broken segments together with a soft, guiding hand. You sense the patience in their movements, the unspoken wisdom that every repair, every adjustment, must respect the overall harmony of the genome. There is artistry here, subtle and profound, a choreography that balances order with adaptability. As you drift deeper into the nucleus, you notice tiny markers, chemical flags, that signal where attention is needed. The guardians respond instantly, shifting focus, coordinating with other molecules, and maintaining an ongoing conversation without words. You imagine the cell as a quiet, sophisticated city, with its guardians acting as caretakers, engineers, and librarians all at once. Their tasks are endless yet performed with grace, as if each movement were part of a silent meditation, a ritual of care that sustains the continuity of life. You sense the immense scale of their vigilance. Each guardian is responsible for countless interactions, monitoring replication, transcription, and repair, ensuring that no error grows beyond its small boundaries. You notice the gentle correction of mismatched bases during replication, a subtle nudge that restores balance. You see the repair of breaks caused by chemical stress or radiation, a careful stitching together of the delicate helix. There is elegance in their work, a humility that contrasts with the grand scale of the universe outside your cells. Here, in this quiet interior cosmos, the guardians maintain order without fanfare, their dedication unseen yet absolutely vital. You pause to observe one particular repair process. A break has occurred in the DNA strand, a gap that could have cascading consequences. A protein complex approaches, recognizing the damage. Does not rush. It pauses, inspects, and gently repositions the broken ends. Enzymes arrive, guiding the repair with precision. Each movement feels like a brushstroke in a slow, living painting, a meditation in 3 dimensions. You notice how the cell accommodates this process, subtly adjusting its environment, softening its internal rhythm to ensure that the repair occurs without disruption. There is a profound intelligence in this cooperation, a quiet harmony that requires neither thought nor awareness, only the unerring logic of life itself. As you move among these guardians, you begin to notice their memory. They do not merely respond to immediate threats. They carry the echoes of past experiences. You see sequences that were previously targeted by viral invaders now marked and remembered, allowing the cell to respond more efficiently in the future. It is a subtle form of anticipation, a quiet learning that occurs at the molecular level. You sense a reverence for history here, that even at the smallest scales, life carries knowledge forward, shaping its own resilience without consciousness. You feel yourself drawn into the flow of their attention. Their presence evokes a sense of calm vigilance, a reassurance that life is never abandoned to chance. You notice how they interact with other cellular components, RNA guiding the direction of repair, cofactors enabling precise modifications, molecular signals orchestrating timing. There is a rhythm to these interactions, a soft pulse that resonates through the nucleus. You feel yourself breathing in time with this rhythm, each inhalation syncing with the guardian's careful motions, each exhalation releasing tension and surrendering to the quiet continuity of life. Drifting further, you observe that not all guardians perform the same tasks. Some are devoted to scanning for errors, others to coordinating repair, while still others monitor the expression of genes, ensuring that the right instructions are read at the right time. You notice the elegance in their division of labor, a fluid network in which each molecule knows its role without the need for instruction. You descend slowly past the familiar landscapes of your body, past the rippling waves of consciousness, into a world far smaller, yet older than your own perception. You arrive at the edge of the microscopic ocean, a vast and silent sea where bacteria first arose. Here life is simpler, yet it pulses with an elegance that is both ancient and profound. The water carries no sound, only the gentle vibrations of molecules, the faint hum of chemical interactions, and the subtle rhythms of survival. You float among these tiny organisms, feeling their presence like distant lanterns glowing softly in the murky depths. Each bacterium is a universe unto itself, contained within a membrane that separates it from the infinite. You sense their patience, their quiet resilience, and the patient intelligence that has guided them for billions of years. They move slowly, deliberately, gliding or rotating, responding to gradients of light, nutrients, or chemical signals. You feel their awareness not as thought, but as a subtle responsiveness, a listening to the environment, an adaptation to circumstances, an unspoken understanding of what is required to survive. You notice that life here is constantly under threat. Viruses, tiny and unseen, drift through the microscopic currents, seeking entry. You sense the tension of these encounters, a quiet storm that has raged since the dawn of microbial life. Yet the bacteria do not succumb. They have evolved a remarkable strategy, one that feels like a memory written in molecules. You see them capturing fragments of viral DNA, storing these sequences in their own genomes as records of past invasions. These are not mere passive archives. They are living memories, ready to instruct future defenses with precision and care. As you move closer, you witness the process unfolding with astonishing clarity. A virus injects its genetic material into a bacterial cell. The bacterium does not panic. It observes. It captures a small snippet of the viral code and incorporates it into a specific region of its genome, a place set aside for remembrance. This region grows over time, accumulating a chronological record of past infections. You feel the patience and foresight embedded in this system, an intelligence that arises not from thought, but from the careful preservation of experience. Each new snippet is a note in a ledger, a quiet diary of survival that will guide the bacterium and its descendants. You notice that these memories are not static. When a virus returns, the bacterium recognizes the sequence, activates its defense systems, and neutralizes the threat with remarkable efficiency. You sense the elegance of this feedback, the interplay between memory and action, between observation and response. It is as if the cell has learned to anticipate storms before they strike, to prepare without anxiety, and to respond without haste. The process feels tender, almost human in its quiet perseverance, a small but profound testament to the resilience of life. Floating among these ancient guardians, you perceive the network of molecular tools that enables this memory. Enzymes move with deliberate care, cutting and integrating genetic fragments, guiding molecular machinery with precision. You notice how this system is not rigid but adaptable, capable of adjusting to new threats while preserving the lessons of the past. Each interaction carries a sense of mindfulness, a delicate balance between protection and flexibility, a harmony that sustains life through countless generations. You observe clusters of bacterial cells communicating through chemical signals, a language of molecules invisible to the eye, yet rich with information. They exchange warnings, share memories, and coordinate defenses. You feel a sense of community here, a network of life quietly cooperating, even at the smallest scales. These interactions are not hurried, not frantic. They unfold with patience, with the measured rhythm of existence itself. You sense the continuity of this network, a lineage of care that has persisted through the tides of time. You notice the subtle elegance of the sequences themselves. Each stored fragment is chosen with care, a reflection of past challenges and current needs. The bacterium's genome becomes a living library, containing stories of survival and adaptation, ready to be accessed when required. You sense a profound quiet in this process, an awareness that is neither conscious nor unconscious, but intrinsic, the natural logic of life sustaining itself, learning and protecting without fanfare. Drifting closer, you see the enzymes that read and implement these memories, guiding molecular scissors to the exact locations of invading DNA. Their precision is breathtaking, their efficiency serene. You feel a deep calm observing this process, an understanding that even in the microscopic storm of viral attack, order and purpose persist. You notice the rhythm, the quiet anticipation, the careful alignment, the deliberate cut, and the protective response, all flowing seamlessly as though choreographed by time itself. You allow yourself to sense the immense patience involved. These bacterial memories are not fleeting reactions. They are the accumulation of countless encounters, each lesson carefully preserved, each fragment a testament to survival. You feel the weight and elegance of this history, not as a burden, but as a quiet guide, a gentle reminder that life adapts and endures. The wisdom of billions of years hums softly through the strands of DNA, whispering the lessons of resilience to all who will listen. You notice that this system is not only defensive but also generative. By storing these memories, bacteria contribute to evolution, creating opportunities for adaptation and innovation. You sense the subtle creativity inherent in this preservation of information, a quiet artistry that shapes life over millennia. Each bacterial generation carries forward not only the experience of survival but also the potential for new strategies, new forms of resistance, and new possibilities for existence. As you drift among these ancient organisms, you begin to perceive the connection between this bacterial memory and the tools humans have later discovered. You feel the quiet lineage of CRISPR unfolding, from a defensive strategy in a single-celled organism to a molecular tool that can be wielded with intention. The elegance of the system, the patience, the precision, and the memory all resonate as a whisper that travels from the ocean's depths to the laboratories of the modern world. You notice the rhythm of bacterial life in these ancient waters, the gentle pulses of reproduction, repair, and defense. Each cell carries its own fragment of memory, yet all participate in a shared symphony of survival. Signals ripple through populations, chemical messages bridge the spaces between cells, and information flows in quiet, unseen ways. You sense the continuity of this network, a living archive of adaptation, a gentle but unyielding proof that life remembers, learns, and protects itself with remarkable consistency. You float past a bacterium that has recently survived a viral attack, observing the integration of the new. You feel the satisfaction of resilience, the quiet triumph of survival, the patient lesson encoded into the strands of DNA. The process is unhurried, deliberate, and immensely precise. You notice the care inherent in every molecular movement, the subtle intelligence of life encoded in actions that require no awareness, only persistence and adaptation. You allow yourself to feel the broader perspective, that this ancient system, honed over billions of years, has laid the groundwork for something extraordinary. It is a reminder that even the smallest, simplest organisms carry knowledge and purpose, that memory is not the sole domain of sentient creatures, and that survival itself is a form of intelligence expressed in quiet, patient ways. You sense the elegance and humility of this design, the beauty of life's own editing mechanisms emerging from necessity and persistence. And as you begin to drift away from this bacterial ocean, you carry with you the awareness of these subtle memories. You notice the lineage connecting these ancient defenders to the molecular tools humans have now discovered, tools that emulate the precision and care of bacterial wisdom. You feel the gentle continuity of life, the patient persistence of knowledge, and the quiet reverence of adaptation preserved over eons. You drift slowly, leaving the gentle patient waters of ancient bacteria, and enter a world even smaller, where the machinery of life moves with subtle elegance. Here, nothing shouts or clamors. Everything is precise, deliberate, and almost invisible. You notice the molecular scissors, Cas enzymes, moving along DNA like soft shadows, gliding over the coiled strands, guided by tiny sequences of RNA. Their motions are quiet, almost ceremonial, each cut intentional, each pause measured. You sense a discipline in this activity, a patience honed over billions of years, where life has learned to defend itself without haste or violence. These scissors are not sharp in the sense you might imagine. They do not wield force to destroy. Instead, they are instruments of selective care. They locate specific sequences within the vastness of DNA, recognizing patterns that belong or intrude, and act with gentle precision. You feel the elegance of this intelligence, an intelligence that requires no thought, no desire, only adherence to molecular logic. Each movement is a whisper, a soft touch that repairs, removes, or protects, maintaining the integrity of life with remarkable grace. You float closer, observing the way RNA guides these enzymes. The RNA strand acts like a lantern illuminating the path, a map that directs the scissors to exactly where they are needed. You feel a sense of quiet companionship here, as though these molecules understand one another, collaborating in a choreography without words. The cell watches, anticipates, and supports, adjusting its environment to make the process smooth and harmonious. There is a rhythm to this activity, a gentle cadence that feels almost meditative, a pulse that resonates softly through the cell's interior. You notice the impact of each cut. A fragment of invading DNA is excised, removed with care, and the cell repairs the space seamlessly. You see enzymes aligning, checking, and confirming, ensuring that no essential sequence is damaged. It is not a hurry to defend. It is a measured, attentive, almost reverent process. You sense the quiet humility of this molecular dance, the way life safeguards itself without arrogance, trusting in precision and patience to maintain continuity. As you drift among these invisible scissors, you begin to perceive their memory. Each cut is informed by past encounters, each repair guided by experience encoded in sequences stored in the genome. The system is self-referential, a guardian that remembers, anticipates, and responds. You feel a soft reassurance in observing this, a sense that life has long since mastered the art of patient vigilance, that survival does not require frenzy but attention and fidelity. The elegance of this memory resonates through time, connecting the ancient past of bacteria to the present moment of your awareness. Floating closer still, you notice the rhythm of these scissors in action. The cuts are not abrupt. They glide in a continuous motion, a flowing arc that feels deliberate and gentle. You feel the subtle tension and release of DNA as the enzyme moves along its path, a breathing motion, a soft inhale and exhale of molecular life. You sense that this rhythm, repeated billions of times across generations, has shaped the very essence of adaptation, creating a legacy of responsiveness and care encoded into every cell. You observe that the scissors do not act alone. They interact with other molecular guardians, coordinating in a network of protection. Repair enzymes arrive to mend what is altered, nucleases cut where necessary, and regulatory proteins monitor the balance. You feel a quiet awe at this coordination, a soft reassurance in the interconnectedness of life's tiniest mechanisms. The efficiency is gentle, the precision exacting, and the purpose unwavering, the preservation and continuity of living code. You allow yourself to notice the dual nature of this process. These molecular scissors are both defensive and creative. While they remove harmful sequences, they also facilitate change, allowing for evolution, adaptation, and the subtle refinement of life. You feel the quiet power in this, the ability to sculpt life without haste, to guide development without force, to edit existence with care and intelligence. It is a system shaped by necessity, honed by survival, and refined over eons into an instrument of elegant balance. Floating among these molecular movements, you sense the silent beauty of design born from randomness and selection. The scissors are neither conscious nor careless. They operate with an intelligence that is intrinsic, woven into the laws of chemistry and physics. You notice the alignment, the specificity, the harmony, a system of editing that is profound in its simplicity yet magnificent in its implications. You feel the gentle lesson of patience, the importance of attention, the quiet power of precision executed without ego. You drift past clusters of these enzymes working in unison. Each fragment excised is immediately attended to, repaired or repurposed. You sense a flow, a subtle circulation of molecular care, moving through the cell with the grace of an invisible river. You feel the rhythm, the ebb and flow, the soft persistence that ensures continuity, stability, and the ongoing integrity of life's code. This is the whisper of evolution in motion, a quiet symphony of survival conducted in silence. You notice the adaptability inherent in the system. The scissors are guided by RNA, a flexible template that can change with new encounters, allowing the cell to respond to novel threats while maintaining stability. You feel a sense of humility and wonder in observing this adaptability. How life has found a balance between rigidity and flexibility, between memory and innovation. Each action is deliberate, yet each adjustment is fluid, a subtle dance that requires neither judgment nor emotion, only fidelity to the task. As you move closer, you observe the molecular precision with which these scissors identify targets. They scan, recognize, and cut, all in a process that feels like a meditative journey across the strands of DNA. You sense the elegance in each motion, the intentionality in each interaction, the patience embedded in the rhythm. The cell does not rush. It does not panic. It acts with the calm certainty of an organism that has practiced survival for billions of years. You begin to notice the beauty of the pauses between cuts, the moments when the scissors hover, waiting, assessing, ensuring that every movement is warranted. These pauses are not empty. They are integral, a part of the meditation, a reflection of the balance between action and observation. You feel the serenity of this approach, the quiet intelligence that knows that precision matters more than speed, that patience ensures continuity, that subtlety preserves life. Drifting further, you sense the broader implications. These molecular scissors, perfected by ancient bacteria, will one day inspire humans to wield similar tools. They are the blueprint for CRISPR, a system that allows the careful editing of genes with precision and grace. You feel a sense of wonder at this lineage, the way knowledge, patience, and elegance flow from the microscopic past into human hands, carrying with it the quiet wisdom of billions of years of evolution. You notice the balance between destruction and creation. The scissors remove sequences that threaten, yet they also allow the rearrangement and renewal of the genome. You feel the poetry in this duality, the artistry in action, the soft rhythm of editing that sustains and reshapes life. Each cut, each repair, each movement is both a protection and an opportunity, a delicate balance achieved in silence, refined over eons, and enacted with calm precision. As you drift toward the edge of awareness, you feel the cumulative presence of countless molecular scissors operating in unison, a quiet chorus of editing, repairing, and safeguarding. You sense their patience, their fidelity, and their quiet intelligence as a living meditation. The rhythm resonates through your consciousness, softening the edges of thought, slowing the pace of your mind, and inviting a deep calm that mirrors the serenity of the cell itself. And as you prepare to leave this microscopic world, you carry the awareness of these silent scissors with you, their precision, patience, and subtle intelligence lingering in your mind. You feel a gentle anticipation, a curiosity for what these molecular tools will inspire, a quiet reverence for the delicate balance that sustains life at the smallest scales. You enter a new world, far larger than the bacterial oceans, yet intimately connected to the microscopic past. Here, light glows softly over smooth surfaces, reflecting off instruments designed to observe and manipulate the tiniest building blocks of life. You feel the quiet hum of energy, not loud or alarming, but steady like the pulse of thought made visible. Scientists move with care, their hands guided by both experience and the patient lessons embedded in the DNA itself. There is no rush, only deliberate attention, as if every gesture is part of a slow, mindful meditation. You notice the instruments that allow them to see and interact with the smallest scales. Microscopes illuminate the spirals of DNA, while pipettes and small robotic arms delicately transfer reagents. You sense the soft rhythm in their movements, each action precise, purposeful, and respectful of the living code they touch. The atmosphere carries a quiet reverence, a shared understanding that even the smallest alteration must be approached with humility and care. You feel yourself slowing, attuning to this rhythm, noticing the gentle choreography of human hands guided by curiosity and discipline. Floating closer, you observe the way scientists design RNA guides that will direct molecular scissors. These guides are like lanterns illuminating the path of action, precise and intentional. You sense the careful thought that goes into their creation, the respect for the complexity of life, and the mindfulness in each selection of sequence. It is not casual work. It is contemplative, considered, and patient, mirroring the patient intelligence of the ancient bacterial systems from which these tools were derived. You notice the scissors themselves, the Cas enzymes, now directed by human hands, yet still moving with the same quiet precision that evolution sculpted over eons. Each cut is deliberate, exact, and purposeful. You sense a reverence in the act, a recognition that these are not blunt instruments but tools of careful guidance. They act as extensions of the human mind, but their movements retain the calm discipline of their natural origins, a patient rhythm that balances action with reflection. You float among the scientists' workstations, noticing the gentle sequences of observation and experimentation. They introduce modifications to cells, observe outcomes, and refine techniques with soft attention. You feel the patience, the respect, and the continuous dialogue between human intention and molecular response. Each interaction is a quiet negotiation, a conversation without words, in which life itself provides feedback and guidance. There is an elegance in this, a soft poetry that mirrors the molecular dances you have witnessed in cells and bacteria. You sense the responsibility that accompanies this knowledge. Every edit carries potential, every alteration must be considered carefully. You notice the quiet deliberation, the consultations, the thoughtfulness in designing experiments. You feel a soft tension, not anxiety, but a recognition that power must be balanced with care, that curiosity must be guided by wisdom, and that the gentle hands holding these tools are custodians of a profound legacy. Floating deeper into the laboratories, you observe the applications of these edits. Some are aimed at correcting genetic errors that cause suffering, others at enhancing resilience or understanding biological processes. You feel the quiet hope embedded in each endeavor, the desire to ease the burdens of life without overstepping the rhythms that have evolved over billions of years. There is a harmony here, an attempt to balance intervention with respect, creativity with responsibility. Each movement carries intention, and each intention is measured against the subtle pulse of life itself. You notice the dialogue between observation and action. Scientists observe cells responding to edits, adjust techniques, and refine their approaches with calm precision. You feel the rhythm of this iterative process, a soft meditation of trial, learning, and improvement. It mirrors the ancient dialogues you witnessed among bacterial guardians and molecular scissors, a continuity that stretches across billions of years. There is a quiet elegance in recognizing that human hands are now participating in a conversation that began long before us, that continues with the same rhythms of care, patience, and attention. You sense the artistry in each adjustment, the poetry in the alignment of molecules, the subtle creativity in designing guides and edits. These are not mere technical procedures. They are acts of mindful engagement with life itself. You feel a deep reverence, a soft awe at the precision, patience, and responsibility required to shape living code. You drift past a series of experiments observing CRISPR in action. The scissors cut, repair, and adjust, guided by the lanterns of RNA, and the cells respond with graceful cooperation. You sense the quiet dialogue between human intent and cellular intelligence, a subtle partnership that flows without force, without hurry. There is a rhythm here that is almost musical, a cadence that softens thought and invites reflection, a gentle pulse that reminds you of the continuity of life and the patient wisdom of natural systems. You begin to perceive the ethical resonance of this work. Every edit is an act of creation and responsibility, a reminder that with insight comes care. You feel the quiet humility of the scientists, their recognition that the tools they wield carry both potential and obligation. There is a soft tension here, a gentle awareness that power must be tempered by wisdom, curiosity guided by patience, and intervention balanced with respect for the rhythms that sustain life. Floating closer, you observe cells responding to edits. Some recover swiftly, integrating the new information seamlessly. Others take longer, adjusting to subtle shifts in their molecular landscape. You sense the patience required, the careful observation, the delicate adjustments that maintain balance. You feel a quiet kinship with these cells, an empathy for their responsiveness, and a soft awareness that life, at every scale, carries its own intelligence and wisdom. You notice the continuity between past and present, between bacterial memory and human guidance. The RNA guides that direct molecular scissors echo the memory systems of ancient bacteria. The precision of Cas enzymes mirrors the careful cuts that defended microbial life for eons. You sense a lineage, a quiet inheritance of patience, care, and attentive intelligence that has flowed from the ancient oceans into the hands of modern scientists. The connection is subtle, yet profoundly reassuring, a whisper of continuity that softens the boundaries between past and present. You drift among the laboratory benches, observing data being recorded, sequences being analyzed, results being shared. Each action is deliberate, calm, and reflective. You feel the rhythm of inquiry, a slow unfolding of understanding, a gentle exploration guided by curiosity and care. There is a harmony in this process, a balance between human intention and the patient wisdom of molecular systems, a quiet dance of observation, reflection, and measured action. You allow yourself to sense the implications of this gentle editing. The power to alter life carries the potential to heal, to understand, and to expand possibility. Yet it also carries the weight of responsibility, the need for reflection, and the recognition that life is both resilient and fragile. You feel the soft gravity of this awareness, a deepening of respect for the processes you witness, a meditation on the balance between action and contemplation, innovation and humility. Floating toward the edges of awareness, you notice that these gentle hands, guided by careful thought and molecular insight, are shaping the future of life. You sense the quiet beauty of intention paired with precision, the poetry in edits performed with mindfulness, the rhythm of creation harmonized with the pulse of existing systems. There is a serenity in recognizing that knowledge, patience, and respect can combine to touch life without rushing, to guide without forcing, to shape with care. And as you begin to drift from the laboratories, you carry with you the awareness of this quiet partnership between human intention and molecular wisdom. You sense the lineage from ancient bacteria to modern tools, the patient rhythms of life echoed in careful hands, the subtle artistry of editing performed with mindfulness. You feel a gentle anticipation for what comes next, a curiosity for the future applications, and a soft reverence for the continuity of knowledge, precision, and care. Chapter 6. Life responds to gentle guidance. You enter a world larger than the molecular workshops, where life breathes and moves in ways both familiar and mysterious. You float among tissues, cells, and the delicate architecture of living beings, sensing the quiet rhythms that sustain each organism. There is a soft pulse here, a harmony of movement and stillness, a continuity that stretches from the earliest single-celled life to the complex forms you now observe. You feel the gentle energy of life itself, responsive, attentive, and quietly adaptive. You notice that the edits performed in laboratories are not static impositions. They ripple through the organism, interacting with pre-existing networks, integrating with ongoing processes, and adjusting with subtle intelligence. You sense that life does not merely receive these changes. It dialogues with them, testing, modifying, and harmonizing with each intervention. The organism listens, responding with a patient rhythm, a soft negotiation that maintains balance and integrity. Floating among cells, you observe how they integrate new sequences into their own functions. You feel the awareness embedded in cellular processes. Not consciousness, not thought, but a molecular mindfulness that aligns reactions with the requirements of survival and function. You notice enzymes adjusting pathways, proteins folding with care, and genetic circuits fine-tuning responses. There is a quiet elegance in this adaptation, a patience that mirrors the ancient bacterial strategies you witnessed long before humans held these tools. You drift past a tissue responding to a correction in its genetic code. The cells move seamlessly, repairing, reorganizing, and maintaining coherence. You feel a sense of wonder at the smoothness of this integration, the soft balance between intervention and natural response. There is no chaos here, only a careful unfolding, a delicate negotiation where life accommodates guidance with grace and resilience. Each adjustment is subtle, precise, and patient, like a gentle hand helping a sapling grow straight in the wind. You notice the rhythms of adaptation. Cells pulse with chemical signals, coordinate their actions, and share information across microscopic distances. You sense the dialogue of life, a slow exchange that ensures harmony and prevents disruption. The edits do not dictate. They suggest, and the cells respond thoughtfully, integrating the guidance into the existing flow of processes. You feel a deep calm in observing this, the quiet wisdom of life adjusting to change without haste or force. Floating deeper into this living landscape, you observe organisms encountering changes in genes that influence resilience, immunity, or metabolism. You sense that life is not passive. It tests, evaluates, and adjusts with quiet intelligence. Each cell contributes to the whole, and each organism maintains a balance between its own needs and the interventions it receives. You feel the patient negotiation of adaptation, a dialogue spanning molecules, cells, tissues, and entire organisms, a continuum of responsiveness and care. You drift among a network of neurons responding to subtle genetic adjustments. Signals flow with clarity, synapses adjust, and networks reorganize without disruption. You feel the rhythm of thought, perception, and coordination aligning with new possibilities. There is a quiet poetry in this process, a harmony in which intervention and natural intelligence coexist, each supporting the other in a gentle dance that sustains the living being. You notice the interplay between correction and creativity. Edits that remove harmful sequences also allow for new patterns of expression, fostering resilience, adaptability, and innovation within the organism. You feel the elegance in this duality, the quiet artistry of life reshaping itself in dialogue with human guidance. The organism participates willingly, adjusting its own processes, refining responses, and harmonizing with the interventions provided. Each adjustment feels soft, deliberate, and intentional, a continuation of the patient rhythms observed in cells and bacterial ancestors. Floating past the microscopic infrastructure of organs, you sense the cumulative effects of these adjustments. Metabolism flows more smoothly, immunity responds with subtle precision, and cellular networks communicate with renewed clarity. You feel the quiet satisfaction of life integrating guidance, the gentle affirmation that adaptation is ongoing, and that resilience is nurtured through attentive, patient care. There is a serenity here, a rhythm that invites contemplation, a slow unfolding of possibility that is both comforting and inspiring. You drift past cells in division, observing how they incorporate edits into their progeny. The lineage continues with careful fidelity, each generation carrying the adjustments forward, harmonizing with the organism's existing systems. You feel the lineage of care and attention, stretching from molecular scissors to cellular adaptation, a continuum of gentle guidance that sustains life across time. You notice the beauty in this continuity, the elegance of living systems maintaining balance while incorporating change. Floating among tissues and organs, you sense the orchestration of countless small adjustments. Each cell's response is part of a larger symphony. Each enzyme's movement contributes to coherence. Each molecular dialogue echoes across scales. You feel a soft reverence for the patience of life, the elegance of adaptation, and the quiet intelligence embedded in every organism. It is a meditation on resilience, an exploration of responsiveness, and an immersion in the art of gentle guidance. You notice the organism's own subtle experimentation. Some cells attempt variations, testing new configurations, and observing responses. You feel a deep calm in watching these experiments, a quiet respect for life's own curiosity and adaptability. There is no hurry, no panic, only measured exploration and patient integration. Each adjustment is part of a broader process of balance, a soft rhythm of learning that continues across generations and scales. You drift past tissues, observing gene expression changing in response to edits. You sense the dialogue between instruction and response, between human-guided edits and intrinsic adaptability. Cells adjust their metabolism, reconfigure signaling pathways, and harmonize function with remarkable grace. You feel the quiet intelligence of life, the patient wisdom of evolution, and the soft elegance of adaptation unfolding in response to gentle guidance. You notice the interplay between natural resilience and intentional intervention. Organisms carry legacy systems, ancient strategies for survival, alongside new instructions introduced by human hands. You feel a sense of balance, a quiet recognition that guidance is most effective when life is allowed to integrate changes with its own intelligence. Each response, each adjustment, each integration is a conversation without words, a dialogue of rhythm, patience, and careful negotiation. You float closer to the molecular networks within cells, observing the subtleties of response at the finest scales. Proteins fold with attention, nucleic acids realign, and signaling pathways adjust with subtlety. You feel the elegance in these micro-adjustments, the poetry in the orchestration of life, and the quiet reassurance that adaptation is ongoing, continuous, and patient. Life is not passive. It listens, integrates, and harmonizes with guidance while maintaining its own rhythms and coherence. You drift through organisms large and small, sensing the cumulative impact of careful edits. Function improves, balance is maintained, and resilience grows. You notice the beauty of life's adaptability, the quiet power of integration, and the patient intelligence that pervades every scale. There is a calm joy in observing this, a gentle affirmation that intervention can coexist with natural wisdom, that guidance can harmonize with adaptation, and that life responds gracefully when approached with respect and care. Floating toward the edge of awareness, you feel the continuity of this process. From ancient bacterial memories to molecular scissors to human-guided edits, life demonstrates an astonishing capacity to integrate, adapt, and harmonize. You sense the gentle lineage of patience, attention, and intelligence that flows through every organism, every cell, every molecule. There is a soft resonance in this awareness, a quiet comfort in recognizing the enduring capacity of life to respond to guidance with elegance and grace. You leave behind the intimate world of individual organisms, floating now across the broader tapestry of life. You sense a vast network stretching in every direction, invisible threads connecting species, environments, and the cycles of energy and matter. This web is delicate, yet resilient, carrying the quiet wisdom of countless generations. You feel the pulse of life as a gentle vibration, subtle but pervasive, and you notice how each change in a single organism can ripple outward, touching systems far beyond immediate perception. As you drift through this interconnected expanse, you observe the effects of the edits you saw earlier. A change in one organism does not remain isolated. It interacts with other organisms, influencing relationships, feeding patterns, and environmental dynamics. You sense the soft, patient adjustments that occur, a quiet dance of balance, as ecosystems integrate new possibilities with innate resilience. Each response is measured, deliberate, and subtle, echoing the gentle wisdom of adaptation you have followed from molecular scissors to living beings. You notice the rhythm of these interactions. One species' altered resilience creates shifts in predators, prey, and competitors. You feel the movement of life responding in waves, a soft pulse that flows through food chains, microbial communities, and soil networks. Each organism participates in this ongoing dialogue, adjusting behavior, physiology, or timing in response to new conditions. There is no urgency here, only patience, subtlety, and the soft unfolding of consequence across the web of life. Floating closer to a forest ecosystem, you sense the quiet conversations between plants, fungi, and microbes beneath the soil. Roots intertwine with fungal networks, exchanging nutrients and chemical signals. You feel the soft resonance of these exchanges, a communication that sustains growth, health, and resilience. The edits in individual species ripple into this network, influencing how energy flows, how symbioses form, and how ecosystems maintain balance. You sense a subtle poetry in this interplay, an unspoken choreography that has evolved over eons. You drift along a river, feeling the water carrying not only nutrients and sediments but also the echoes of life's adjustments. Altered organisms upstream influence populations. You sense the patience of rivers and streams as they accommodate these changes, shaping habitats, distributing resources, and supporting diversity. There is a rhythm here, a slow cadence that mirrors the gentle unfolding of adaptation at smaller scales. Every drop participates, and every movement contributes to a larger pattern of balance and harmony. Floating above the oceans, you notice the flow of plankton, fish, and currents. Subtle shifts in one species create ripples that spread far and wide, influencing feeding, reproduction, and migration patterns. You feel the quiet resilience of life, its ability to absorb interventions and integrate them without collapse. The ecosystem responds with grace, adjusting patiently, redistributing energy and resources, maintaining coherence while exploring new possibilities. There is a soft intelligence in this adaptability, a meditative rhythm that flows from molecules to organisms to whole ecosystems. You notice the cycles that sustain life: nitrogen, carbon, water, flowing through organisms, soil, and atmosphere. Every edit, every adjustment participates in these cycles, influencing the availability of resources, the timing of growth, and the health of communities. You sense the delicate balance that persists, the patient responsiveness that prevents collapse, and the subtle interdependence that binds every component into a living network. There is a quiet poetry in these cycles, a gentle rhythm that invites reflection and appreciation for the continuity of life. Floating into a meadow, you sense the soft interplay between pollinators, plants, and herbivores. You notice the small adjustments in flower structure or nectar composition rippling into pollinator behavior, which in turn shapes seed dispersal and genetic diversity. You feel the gentle feedback loops, the patient corrections, and the subtle harmonies that maintain stability while allowing adaptation. The web of life is resilient, yet flexible, capable of integrating guidance without losing coherence, responding with the same quiet intelligence you observed in individual cells. You drift into a forest canopy, observing birds, insects, and arboreal mammals. Each species adjusts subtly to the others, to seasonal cycles, and to human-guided interventions. You sense the patient negotiation of interactions, the balancing of needs, and the quiet accommodation of change. Each ripple of adaptation travels outward, touching leaves, branches, and air currents. You feel the interconnectedness of all these components, the soft harmony that emerges from patience, responsiveness, and attentiveness. Floating closer to soil ecosystems, you notice microbial communities responding to shifts in plant exudates or chemical signals. These microbes adjust metabolism, interact with neighbors, and support plant health, indirectly influencing larger organisms above. You sense the echoes of human-guided edits traveling through these networks, reshaping interactions with subtlety and grace. There is a quiet intelligence at every level, a patient attentiveness that allows ecosystems to accommodate change while maintaining resilience. You drift over a wetland, sensing the interplay of waterfowl, amphibians, plants, and soil. Subtle genetic adjustments in one species ripple outward, influencing food webs, nutrient cycling, and habitat structure. You feel the patient flow of adaptation, the quiet responsiveness that sustains diversity and balance. Each organism participates in this dialogue, adjusting behavior, physiology, and interactions, integrating guidance with intrinsic wisdom. There is a soft, meditative quality in observing this flow, a reminder that life's intelligence extends far beyond conscious thought. You notice the broader implications of these ripples. Changes in one species influence climate resilience, disease dynamics, and ecosystem productivity. You sense that human-guided interventions must be approached with awareness of these interconnections, with patience and humility. Each action carries echoes, each edit participates in the dialogue, and each organism contributes to the overall harmony. You feel a gentle respect for the subtle balance of ecosystems, the quiet wisdom embedded in their complexity, and the careful attention required to influence them responsibly. Floating among aerial migrations of birds, you notice timing shifts caused by subtle ecosystem adjustments. Changes in plant flowering or insect emergence ripple upward, influencing migration patterns, breeding success, and interspecies interactions. You feel the rhythm of these responses, patient and deliberate, unfolding over seasons and years. The web of life absorbs interventions while maintaining coherence, responding with grace, patience, and quiet intelligence. You drift above mountains and valleys, sensing the large-scale integration of small changes. Human-guided edits in individual species resonate through landscapes, influencing predator-prey dynamics, vegetation patterns, and nutrient flows. You feel the patient adjustment of ecosystems, the soft balancing of interactions, and the quiet unfolding of adaptation. There is a meditative harmony in observing this, a rhythm that invites reflection on the continuity and resilience of life across scales. You notice the delicate interdependence of all components: soil microbes, plants, herbivores, predators, and humans. Each participates in a patient dialogue, integrating changes, balancing needs, and maintaining harmony. You sense the soft resonance of intervention and response, a quiet music that flows through the web of life, sustaining diversity, stability, and possibility. There is a gentle wisdom in observing how interconnected systems accommodate and harmonize, a reassurance of resilience guided by patience. Floating toward the edges of awareness, you feel the culmination of these ripples. Individual edits, cellular responses, and organismal adaptations merge into ecosystem-level adjustments. You sense the continuity of life, the patient intelligence of networks, and the quiet elegance of balance maintained across scales. There is a deep serenity in this awareness, a soft affirmation that life responds gracefully to gentle guidance, preserving resilience while exploring new possibilities. You enter a space of reflection, where human intention meets the patient rhythms of life. Here, power and possibility coexist with humility and care. You sense the soft gravity of ethical responsibility, a quiet awareness that every choice carries echoes beyond immediate perception. Like a whispered suggestion rather than a command, the guidance you have observed flows into living systems, and with it comes a call to pause, consider, and act with mindful attention. Floating gently among laboratories, forests, and rivers, you feel the subtle hum of contemplation. Scientists, ecologists, and observers are present not only as participants in action but also as reflective witnesses, attuned to consequences, aware of interconnections, and respectful of life's wisdom. You sense that every action is a dialogue, not only with living organisms but with time itself, with a legacy of evolution, and with a delicate balance of ecosystems. The ethical question is not a demand, but a soft meditation, inviting awareness and care. You notice the duality of curiosity and responsibility. The human desire to understand, to explore, and to guide must be harmonized with the rhythms of life. You sense the patient weighing of benefit and risk, the quiet consideration of unintended effects, and the gentle acknowledgement that life has its own intelligence, capable of adaptation and response. Ethical reflection is not a burden. It is a soft guide, a companion in the delicate art of interacting with life. You drift through scenes of cellular edits, organismal adaptations, and ecosystem ripples. You feel the continuum of responsibility stretching across scales. A single molecular change in a cell carries potential consequences that resonate through tissues, individuals, communities, and environments. You sense the weight of these choices, not as a heavy pressure, but as a subtle reminder that mindfulness and care are essential companions to curiosity and skill. Floating above human hands guiding molecular scissors, you sense intention paired with awareness. You notice discussions about outcomes, potential harms, and benefits, conversations conducted with patience and respect. Each decision is considered carefully, measured against the backdrop of life's complexity, informed by observation, knowledge, and reflection. You feel the gentle rhythm of deliberation, the soft cadence of ethical dialogue that accompanies every action. You notice the spectrum of ethical considerations. Some edits may prevent suffering, restore health, or preserve species, while others may carry risks, uncertainty, or unforeseen consequences. You sense the quiet patience in evaluating these outcomes, the reflective pauses, the mindful attention to probabilities, and the acknowledgement of humility. Ethics in this space is not rigid. It is fluid, meditative, a soft lens through which guidance interacts with life. Floating among ecosystems, you feel the expansive reach of ethical awareness. Interventions that appear small at first ripple outward, affecting species interactions, nutrient cycles, and habitat dynamics. You sense the delicate balance between intentional action and natural resilience, between curiosity and restraint, between innovation and preservation. Ethical mindfulness becomes a soft, guiding pulse that resonates through every level of life, reminding observers to act with care and attention. You drift along streams and wetlands, observing subtle ecosystem responses to guided interventions. You sense that ethical awareness requires attentiveness to patterns of adaptation, resilience, and harmony. Interventions are considered not only in terms of immediate effects but also in their capacity to sustain life, maintain balance, and preserve diversity. You feel the quiet hum of reflection, the soft inquiry into long-term consequences, and the patient evaluation of actions before they unfold. Floating among forests, you notice species interactions shaped by subtle edits. Pollinators respond, plants adapt, and soil microbes adjust. You sense the responsibility inherent in every ripple, the call to observe outcomes carefully, to adjust interventions gently, and to honor the inherent intelligence of life. Ethics here is a practice, a rhythm, a meditation in action that asks you to move with care, to notice subtle signals, and to respond thoughtfully. You drift among human communities, observing the contemplation of choice. Conversations unfold about potential edits, ecosystem impact, and societal implications. You feel the quiet patience in weighing risks, discussing principles, and considering equity, justice, and responsibility. These discussions echo the meditative rhythm you have observed in cells and organisms, slow, attentive, and harmonized with the broader web of life. Floating over landscapes, you sense the integration of ethical principles into practice. Human-guided edits are accompanied by monitoring, evaluation, and adjustment. You feel the soft humility of those aware that life cannot be fully predicted, that outcomes may be subtle, complex, and delayed. Ethics in this space is not a set of rigid rules but a continuous meditation, a dialogue that unfolds alongside observation and reflection. You notice the interplay of hope and caution. There is optimism in potential outcomes, healing, restoration, preservation, but also a gentle awareness of uncertainty. You sense that ethical mindfulness tempers ambition with care, curiosity with patience, and intervention with reflection. The rhythm of thought is slow, deliberate, and soft, like a quiet wave brushing over a still shore, shaping understanding without force. Floating among laboratories and natural habitats, you observe protocols, guidelines, and practices designed to honor life. These are not bureaucratic mandates but soft frameworks that encourage reflection, respect, and responsible action. You feel the harmony between knowledge and restraint, between intervention and observation, between guidance and the patient intelligence of living systems. There is a quiet beauty in this balance, a meditation in practice that sustains trust, integrity, and harmony. You drift among children of life, plants, animals, microbes, each carrying subtle responses to gentle edits. You sense the weight of foresight, the call for patience, and the quiet invitation to move with awareness. Ethical guidance is woven into observation, reflection, and practice, a meditation that flows through every decision, every gesture, and every ripple of change. You feel the soft rhythm of responsibility echoing across scales, from cells to organisms to ecosystems. Floating closer to the heart of consideration, you notice that ethical reflection is not a one-time act but an ongoing dialogue. Each observation informs the next action, each response guides the next intervention, and each outcome shapes future choices. You feel the quiet meditation in continuous attentiveness, the gentle awareness that life's complexity demands patience, humility, and respect. Ethics becomes a companion, a soft rhythm guiding interactions with living systems. You notice the convergence of science, intuition, and reflection. Knowledge of molecular edits, cellular responses, and ecosystem dynamics meets the soft awareness of consequence, responsibility, and care. You feel the integration of these elements into a meditative approach, a gentle balance of curiosity, skill, and wisdom. Each choice becomes an act of mindfulness, each edit a gesture of respect, and each observation a soft meditation on the continuity of life. You drift across landscapes and laboratories, sensing the human responsibility in shaping life. You notice patience, humility, and reflective care in every step. You feel the harmony of ethical mindfulness with curiosity and knowledge, the balance between possibility and restraint, the rhythm of action guided by reflection. Ethics is not distant or abstract. It is immediate, present, and soft, flowing like a quiet stream through every scale of life. Floating toward the edges of awareness, you sense the culmination of ethical consideration. Every molecular edit, cellular response, and ecosystem ripple is approached with mindfulness, patience, and care. You feel the quiet alignment of intention, knowledge, and responsibility, a soft resonance that echoes through organisms, landscapes, and human hands. There is serenity in this alignment, a gentle reassurance that careful guidance can coexist with life's innate wisdom. You enter a world where curiosity is a soft companion, a gentle current guiding your awareness. Discovery is not urgent. It does not demand haste or force. Instead, it moves like a slow stream, winding through patterns, observing responses, and listening to the whispers of life. Each question you follow is a step along a quiet path, each observation a ripple in your understanding, and each insight a soft illumination of what has long existed but remained unseen. Floating past the delicate folds of a leaf, you notice tiny interactions among cells, chloroplasts, and the fluid movement of nutrients. You sense the patience required to observe these subtle processes, the attention to rhythm and pattern, and the soft curiosity that reveals connections previously hidden. Discovery here is a meditation, an attentive gaze into the small miracles that sustain life, each step unfolding naturally without rush or expectation. You drift toward a pond, where microorganisms glide, interact, and respond. You notice the interplay of light, temperature, and chemical signals, each contributing to the patterns of life. You feel the gentle joy of noticing these dynamics, the quiet delight in observing without needing to control or dominate. Discovery becomes an act of listening, a patient alignment with the rhythms of nature, a soft acknowledgement of the complexity and elegance that exists in every interaction. You float along the microscopic highways of veins and capillaries, observing the flow of blood and nutrients. You sense how even the smallest observation can lead to insights into function, adaptation, and health. Discovery is not always dramatic. It is often subtle, cumulative, and patient. Each attentive moment, each careful observation, contributes to a larger tapestry of understanding, a meditative journey in which every small insight resonates gently with larger truths. You drift into a laboratory, where human curiosity interacts with the living world. You notice soft glimmers of insight, a pattern in gene expression, a subtle cellular response, a gentle behavioral change. You feel the rhythm of observation and reflection, the patience required to notice what is often invisible, and the quiet wonder that accompanies each revelation. Discovery is not a race but a measured journey, a dialogue with life itself, attended with respect, humility, and attentiveness. You float among the neurons of a brain, observing electrical signals, chemical gradients, and networks of connection. Each insight unfolds like a soft pulse, revealing pathways, responses, and interactions previously unnoticed. You sense that discovery is about attuning to these rhythms, following the subtle cues, and allowing understanding to emerge naturally. There is no urgency here, only a gentle unfolding, a meditative journey that deepens as attention and presence deepen. You drift along the edges of ecosystems, observing plant succession, predator-prey interactions, and seasonal changes. You sense the soft patience required to notice trends, the attentiveness needed to perceive patterns, and the quiet humility that comes from realizing the interconnectedness of all things. Discovery in this space is contemplative, like a slow dance with observation, reflection, and understanding, where each step invites more questions and softens the distinction between observer and observed. Floating among microbial mats, you notice chemical gradients, movement patterns, and responses to environmental changes. You feel the delight of subtle recognition, the meditative joy of noticing relationships, and the quiet wonder that accompanies gentle attention. Discovery is less about conquest or final answers and more about presence, attunement, and the patient unfolding of understanding that respects the rhythms of life and the intelligence embedded within it. You drift across forests, observing pollination, seed dispersal, and symbiotic interactions. You sense the patience required to observe cycles over seasons and years, the attentiveness to detail, and the quiet joy in noticing the connections that sustain ecosystems. Discovery becomes a meditation on interdependence, a gentle recognition that understanding grows not from force but from attentive observation and respectful engagement with the living world. You float among coral reefs, observing the subtle interplay of species, nutrient flows, and light. You notice that even small changes, shifts in temperature, slight variations in chemical gradients, ripple outward, influencing multiple interactions. You feel the importance of patient observation, the value of attentive reflection, and the meditative pleasure of discovery that is slow, respectful, and harmonized with life's rhythms. Each insight is a soft illumination, a delicate note in the larger symphony of understanding. You drift through human hands, observing microscopes, sensors, and notebooks. You notice the rhythm of inquiry, the patient accumulation of observations, and the gentle dialogue between experiment and reflection. Discovery is a journey, not a destination. You feel the subtle joy of noticing, the reflective pleasure of pattern recognition, and the meditative rhythm of exploration that flows from curiosity tempered with patience. Floating among cells responding to subtle environmental cues, you notice pathways adjusting, signals integrating, and organisms adapting. You sense the elegance of these dynamics, the quiet lessons they offer about resilience, intelligence, and the unfolding of life. Discovery is an immersion into this rhythm, a meditative journey in which attention is a soft tool, reflection is a gentle companion, and insight emerges naturally as awareness deepens. You drift across oceans, noticing plankton blooms, predator movements, and nutrient cycles. You sense the importance of patience, the value of attentive observation, and the meditative joy of discovering patterns that are not immediately visible. Each insight ripples outward, informing further exploration, guiding reflection, and deepening understanding. Discovery is a gentle journey that honors the wisdom of life, the complexity of interactions, and the patient unfolding of knowledge. You float among laboratories and ecosystems, observing the continuum of attention, inquiry, and reflection. You notice the harmony between curiosity and patience, observation and integration, action and reflection. Discovery is not hurried. It is not forced. It is a meditative practice, a rhythmic journey in which each question, observation, and insight unfolds naturally, aligning with the patient intelligence embedded in living systems. You drift among the quiet moments of recognition, where patterns emerge and understanding deepens. You feel the soft joy of noticing relationships, the gentle clarity that comes from reflection, and the meditative satisfaction of following a path illuminated by attention. Discovery is less about answers and more about attunement, less about achievement and more about gentle, rhythmic engagement with a living world. Floating toward the edges of awareness, you sense the culmination of this gentle journey. Each observation, each insight, each ripple of curiosity contributes to a broader understanding, a slow unfolding of knowledge harmonized with patience and reflection. Discovery is not a race, but a soft journey, a meditation in which curiosity, attention, and wonder flow together, revealing the quiet beauty of life in all its complexity. You enter a space where time flows slowly, gently, and expansively, carrying the echoes of countless lives. Here, legacy is not a monument or a proclamation, but a quiet ripple, a subtle pattern woven through the continuum of existence. You feel the soft persistence of influence, how even the smallest action resonates beyond the moment, shaping life in ways that are patient, measured, and often unseen. The quiet of life holds memory, not in words or inscriptions, but in the enduring rhythms of adaptation, connection, and care. You drift along the river of ancestry, sensing the genetic stories carried within every cell, every organism, and every ecosystem. You feel the continuity of information, the subtle adjustments that have been integrated, and the gentle evolution that carries lessons across generations. Legacy here is embedded in the structure of life itself, in the DNA of cells, in the adaptations of species, and in the balance of ecosystems. It is quiet, patient, and enduring, shaping what emerges without demanding attention. Floating across forests, you notice the subtle imprints of past generations. Patterns of growth, symbiotic relationships, and seasonal cycles all bear the quiet signatures of what has come before. You sense that every action taken in the present, an intervention, an observation, or a gentle edit, will become part of this tapestry, influencing the shape of life long after the moment has passed. Legacy is not immediate. It unfolds like the slow rise of dawn, revealing patterns that were planted quietly, patiently, over time. You drift into wetlands, noticing the persistence of microbial communities, plants, and animals. Each organism carries echoes of its ancestors and, in turn, influences descendants and neighbors. You feel the soft resonance of guidance applied with care, the ripples of thoughtful observation, and the quiet imprint of intervention that is respectful, attuned, and harmonious. Legacy emerges as an ongoing dialogue, a meditation in which each participant contributes without expectation, leaving traces that ripple into the future. Floating among coral reefs, you sense the intergenerational rhythm of life. Coral polyps, fish, and invertebrates participate in cycles that stretch across decades, centuries, and even millennia. You notice how subtle actions, whether natural or human-guided, carry echoes forward, shaping the continuity of resilience, diversity, and adaptability. Legacy is not about immediate reward. It is the patient unfolding of influence that nurtures the potential of future life. You drift through fields and meadows, sensing the quiet persistence of pollinators, soil microbes, and plants. You feel the soft weight of responsibility, the awareness that choices made now will echo across seasons and generations. Legacy is embedded in the rhythm of growth, the timing of blooms, the balance of ecosystems, and the resilience of life. Each attentive observation, each careful intervention, contributes to this continuity, shaping outcomes in ways both subtle and profound. Floating through laboratories and study spaces, you notice the continuity of knowledge. Observations, experiments, and reflections become part of a shared human legacy, a repository of insight that informs future care, understanding, and discovery. You feel the gentle rhythm of cumulative wisdom, where patience, attentiveness, and care become quiet gifts passed along, sustaining curiosity and guiding future generations. You drift among rivers and oceans, sensing the subtle persistence of environmental influence. Nutrient flows, species interactions, and habitat structures all carry echoes of previous actions, human and natural alike. You notice how ecosystems remember, adapt, and respond over time, integrating both guidance and natural dynamics into ongoing cycles. Legacy here is quiet, embedded in the patterns of life, a soft resonance of care, observation, and continuity. You drift above mountains, noticing the ripple of interventions, restoration projects, conservation efforts, and thoughtful stewardship. You sense that even small, carefully guided actions leave traces, shaping the future balance of species, habitats, and ecological processes. Legacy emerges as a patient unfolding, a meditation in time, where every ripple contributes to the long-term resilience and harmony of life. Floating among human communities, you observe the transmission of knowledge, care, and awareness. Ethical reflection, attentiveness, and mindful action are quietly passed along, shaping not only ecosystems but also the values and habits of those who will continue the journey. You feel the subtle power of influence, small, patient, and deliberate, echoing outward and forward, reminding you that legacy is as much about attentiveness and care as it is about action itself. You drift among forests, rivers, and oceans, sensing the web of influence that stretches across generations. You notice the quiet interdependence of organisms, the persistence of genetic and ecological memory, and the patient unfolding of patterns that sustain life. Legacy is not marked by grand gestures, but by the accumulation of careful, attentive, and respectful engagement with life. Each ripple contributes to a continuum of possibility, nurturing resilience, diversity, and adaptability. You float along the quiet edges of human-guided ecosystems, sensing the cumulative weight of choices, observations, and interventions. You feel the gentle hum of continuity, the quiet weaving of influence, and the patient shaping of life's future. Legacy emerges not as a singular event but as a soft, ongoing process, a meditation in which curiosity, care, and reflection ripple outward, guiding life while honoring its innate intelligence. You drift among ancient forests, coral reefs, and microbial mats, sensing the unbroken dialogue between past, present, and future. You notice the subtle interplay of continuity and change, the persistent presence of memory, and the gentle shaping of life by patient attention. Legacy is a quiet echo, a soft pattern that integrates the contributions of countless generations, human and non-human alike, sustaining resilience and nurturing possibility. You notice the continuity of ethical reflection, curiosity, and observation. Each insight gained, each action guided by care, and each attentive choice becomes part of a larger story, woven through time and space. You feel the soft resonance of responsibility, the gentle pulse of influence, and the meditative,